Just like to offer a big shout out to Touchdown Digital, the sponsor of this week's video. Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Glenn Selman and you're watching Sniper Photography. Today I want to talk to you about a subject which is quite unique actually, and it's a subject on creativity, but more importantly, can you become creative? Now, it's a very good question, and over the years of me being a photography or photographic educator, it comes to me that, or it appears to me that a lot of people aren't born with creativity, and I understand that, I get that, that's just human nature. But with photography, what I've found over many years, a lot of years, that people tend to learn the technical side of photography quite easy. And let's face facts here. It's very simple with the modern technology. You can learn all about your camera settings, your exposure triangle, your f-stops, your ISO, your shutter speed, aperture. Then you can work out grid patterns on your camera, where you can put, through the rule of thirds, where to put things, where not to put things, how cameras work in certain environments with light. Now that's the technical side of photography, but what about the creative side? Now the creative side just does not come natural to people, and I know many good and great photographers that technically they are perfect, but they seem to struggle with creativity, where they walk into a scene or a landscape scene or any type of photography really, and they struggle to find elements to build the image, because as a photographer you're more of a craftsman or a craftsperson. You have to take what's in front of you visually, and then you have to turn it around into a scene which captures people's eyes and their hearts and their minds. And you can only really do that through creativity. But how do you become creative? Well, over the years, I have not been able to teach people how to become creative, because it comes from here and here. That's where creativity comes from. And everyone has a unique style. And I suppose you could call that creativity, but really, can you? So you're probably thinking, well, I know all about my camera and I know technically I'm pretty good, but when it comes to creativity, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I do struggle to try and make photographs or images with impact. And that's the thing. How do you create an image with impact if you're not creative? Well, it is a very difficult field, this. It's a very difficult field. And I think you just have to take your time. As I said, I've been unable really to teach people how to be creative or teach them how to express themselves through their images and their photography, vice versa, because creativity just doesn't come to people. I think you have to work on it, and you really have to give it everything that you've got, because we don't just wake up one morning and we think, well, I'm going to take some really great photographs because I'm a good creative mind. Yeah, so it is a very difficult thing. As I said, technically a lot of people are great with cameras and photography, but when it comes to creativity, trying to create something that is extraordinary is extraordinarily hard. And as I said, over the years teaching people photography, I've not been able to teach people how to become creative. Sure, you can say, well, I could say as an educator, a photography educator, that you look for leading lines, you look what the light's doing, you look at your angles, you look at putting the camera down low, putting it high, shooting to one side, either right or left or whatever it might be, portrait orientation, landscape orientation. But at the end of the day, it's you behind the camera that creates the image. And you do have to have some sort of creativity because it's a well-known fact that millions upon millions, if not billions of photographs and images are uploaded and put in front of us on a daily basis. So how do you make your image stand out from the rest? Great question. So this is where it becomes very important for you that to have that creativity and to look at a scene, and I'll talk about landscapes. You're looking at a scene and you look at to your right and left, you're looking at the ground, and you've got to really think what you want to leave out of the image, but more importantly, what you need to leave in. So you start to get that creative process going. It all starts up here. So learning creativity, I believe, cannot be taught. As I said before, I haven't been able to teach people how to become creative, but I've given them the steps or passed on the knowledge that I've gained over many, many years and the steps of how to become creative. You can make yourself creative, but it just doesn't come easy. You've got to work very hard at it, and it takes time, a lot of time, to become creative. And your understanding of a lot of things with photography will enable you to become creative. So it's a very strong word, creative, when it comes to photography. I mean, it's just something that you have to really, really sit down and think about. And there's various ways, yes, you can become creative, and that is to have a certain genre within the genre that you wish to photograph. Like, for argument's sake, if you're a landscape photographer, do you like photographing mountains? Do you like photographing waterfalls? But more importantly, what angles do you photograph those scenes in? What angles do you photograph? I shoot a lot of my landscape photography naturally on a tripod, but very low to the ground, because, and I've said this in previous videos, that you're turning a 2D dimensional image into a 3D, because that's exactly what's in front of you, a 3D image. That's how we record it in our eyes and our mind and our brain. So it's a matter of you working through your scene to become creative. So you can become creative. And a lot of people seem to think, or they struggle with, no, I just can't, just unable to take good photographs. Well, there's no such thing as unable when it comes to photography. You've got to give it everything. You've got to give it 100% to this if you want to achieve things. And photography is a test. It's a test physically, it's a test mentally, it's a test of your emotions, it's a test of your bank account, as we know. But creativity is a process which takes many, many years to achieve. Another way you can become creative is to look at the past greats, the past great photographers like Ansel Adams. And look at his, especially if you're into landscapes, look at his images. His images were taken with very, very minimal equipment, glass plates and sheet plates and things like that, and massive large format cameras where he'd stand on the roof of a car and take photos at Yosemite. But if you have a look at his works, you can see a pattern. And this is another good thing. If you can you form a pattern with your photography leading up to becoming more creative, you're well on your way to becoming a very, very good photographer. Because to me, the more I think about it, out of all the people that use what I call proper cameras, we're all in this group. We're all in this group, right? And the top echelon, they're no different to you and I, but they have perfected their art. They've perfected the art and the creativity of photography. So you've got, say 100%, 100 photographers, 5% out of the 100 are the creative types. They're the people that take the images that evoke emotion and draw the viewer into the image. And you make the person looking at your photograph, you make them feel like they were standing next to you when you have taken that photograph. And I've spoken about this before. You need to have images that are thought-provoking. You need to have images that don't need any description. But the only way you can achieve that goal is to be creative with your photography. And yes, it has a lot to do with composition. As I said, if you know your camera, you know how cameras work, and you know technically about everything when it comes to photography, well then don't fuss over that. What you need to be fussing over, not worrying, but fussing over, is improving through creativity. How do you create a compelling image? And you can really only do that through a few things: experience and just out there, keep on working at it. You have to work at this to become creative. So it's a very an emotional subject, this, and over the years, as I said, people have come to me and they've been quite upset actually, because they know they can take a good photograph, but they seem to struggle with doing something better. So they take photograph A and they look at it and they think, well, I should do better. That photograph should be better. And it's not through mistakes made with the camera. It's not a mistake entirely. What it is that they haven't thought about the image itself or the scene that's before them. So you have to be creative to nail this. You often hear the words, oh, he's a very creative photographer, or he's a very creative painter, or he's a very creative artist. And the reason for that is because their images or paintings or artworks, they actually grab the viewer. And I know quite a few well-known photographers throughout the world that have achieved this. But if you were to sit down with them and ask them, how did you become creative? Their simple answer is we just keep going at it. We make mistakes and we just keep going and we keep going and keep going until we achieve what we're happy with our creativity. So it's a great subject. I really would like to hear what you think about this. It is a challenge. It really is a challenge. And becoming creativity, or becoming creative to create great creativity images. So let me know what you think. Put your comments down below. I much appreciate that. I love reading your comments and I always get back to you. Also, too, a big thank you to the people that have recently subscribed to the channel. I'm trying to, I've got about 3 or 4 videos backed up after this one, which will come through in the next 2 or 3 weeks. It's been very cold here in the mountains, so weather-wise I'm battling the cold, but that's okay because I think I'm pretty creative of how to take good images in cold weather. So there's a bit of a thought for you. So that's it. That's it for another episode of Sniper Photography. Please let me know what you think about the creativity side of your photography. Do you think you're creative enough? And what are you trying to do to improve your creativity with your photography? So that's it for another episode of Sniper Photography. As I always say, be nice to yourself, family and friends, but most of all, you keep smiling, keep shooting. Bye for now.